Hello and welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Patrick Knisley.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, we got a very special guest with us this evening, ladies and gentlemen. We got Emma Brockway on the show again, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing, Emma?
Good. Nice to be here.
Yes, of course.
Emma, we are having you on to talk about Zelda, and in particular, the idea of the Zelda 35th anniversary.
Yeah.
What will it be? When will it happen? Will
Great
it happen?
questions.
We're going to celebrate because Nintendo did not on the day.
We've got that and lots of great news and rumors to go over. So a lot of controller news, some new game announcements, some NPD numbers, and some just other great stuff. We'll get to all that in just a little bit. But yeah, how's everybody doing this week?
Doing okay?
All right.
Doing pretty good.
Pretty good.
Just got the latest issue of Nintendo Force in the mail, which is an excellent Nintendo magazine. They've got a Patreon. If you're not a subscriber, you should definitely subscribe to that. If you like this show, you'd like that magazine. Got a really excellent Bowser's Fury poster in that as well that I'll be sticking up somewhere. Excited to read it.
Cool.
I'm pretty good on my side. I played all the way through Fire Emblem Three Houses in
Did you
4
really?
days. Yeah.
Did you beat
That's
it?
an amazing time.
Yeah. No, I spent 10 hours or 11 hours on it yesterday.
Bruh.
So proud.
Yeah.
That's intense.
I'm scared. Yeah.
I was a little surprised to see that you'd already finished it. Gonna be honest.
That's because I'm a real gamer.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I started that game 2 years ago, and I haven't gotten to the time jump yet. So,
Oh man. Well, you've got 2 more years. You can do
that's
it.
right. Yeah, that's right. I'm playing it in real time. Yeah.
A couple quick shout outs. Our last episode, we talked about the Switch Pro rumors and the Switch having its 4-year anniversary. Generated some good discussion on our Discord, as always. Too many people to shout out there. Cena, Carosetta, a bunch of other folks. Also on Twitter, Donnie Meyer put out a message that we had a long episode last week, 2 hours and 18 minutes. Hallelujah. Thanks, Donnie. And Sam Brown commented on our YouTube. We had Papagenos on that episode, and they said Papagenos is awesome, which we agree with. So
Papagenos is awesome. What a great episode! Last episode.
Was that our longest episode?
Oh yeah,
has to be.
As the editor of this podcast, yes,
yeah.
It was the longest episode.
Did it beat the 100th special?
Yeah, the 100th episode was about 2
minutes.
hours. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it was this was well over. I kept trying to very subtly tell you that we were going fast or that we were going long, but this is a video podcast, and I was too subtle, I think. Go back and watch the episode if you want to see me try to subtly tell Patrick.
That's funny. Okay, yeah. That's true. We don't, now we're doing video now, so check us out on YouTube, everybody. If you're just a regular audio listener and you want to see our faces, and watch David try to hint at me to speed things up. But we'd love to hear from our listeners. So share the podcast, leave a review somewhere, tell a friend about it, and also send in your listener questions, because we do a listener question segment now.
That's right.
And also just a quick hello to all the new subscribers and listeners that we got. Probably came from Papagenos. So hello to y'all.
Thanks for sticking around.
This is a Smash speculation only podcast. Welcome. Grab a chair.
Cool. We got a lot of great news and rumors to get into. Y'all ready for this? This was interesting just because of the unique nature of it. Oatmeal Dome, who is one of the big data miners on the Switch, shared that there was a updated firmware of the Nintendo Switch system. It went up to 11.0.1, and if you are meticulous and pay attention to this stuff, you might note I didn't update my Switch. It was one of the first ones that was just runs in the background, you didn't have to do it. If you have auto update on, I think it just does it or whatever. So that's interesting. And apparently the one thing it changed was updated the swear words list, or that's one of the things that they were actually able to figure out. I couldn't find what the actual list. Yeah, I
Damn,
don't
dude.
know.
We should read it out like we would read out 51 worldwide classics.
Some people
I need
asked
to know.
Yeah, I know. Some people asked on Twitter what are they, but I don't think he ever responded, or she.
I bet it was simp.
Yeah, that's a good guess. Like new slang swear words. Yeah. And then it's been reported that 3DS repairs have ended, at least in Japan, due to running out of parts.
Oh, wow.
So I think I saw somewhere, I think this was on like Reddit or somewhere, I saw somebody say this is really fascinating because I just saw some information about how long like the original Famicom repair lasted. Like it went on for so long, and then 3DS obviously like repair of 3DS did not make it much
they
fast.
really don't want to do anything with the 3DS anymore. Like they sold through them. Like as soon as the Switch was doing really well, they were like, okay, cool, fuck the 3DS. Which is a shame because the 3DS is great. I actually was looking for a new 3DS online the other day because my 3DS's like circle pad is pretty sticky. I like bought it used and it's just like it's worn in a bad way. And they're pretty expensive now to like go find a new 3DS. So that was kind of unfortunate. Also, I found this story interesting because they had just said like a week prior that they would be continuing to repair 3DSs through the end of March. And then like 6 days into March, they like ran out of parts and they're like, oops, sorry, no, we're done. So I guess they underestimated how many people were going to be mad dash sending in their broken 3DSs.
So if you have a broken 3DS, I don't know. Good luck.
Yeah, buy a new one. Go on Etsy.
Yeah, there's got to be someone doing repairs that's not Nintendo.
Yeah.
You can buy parts and repair it yourself, or just hit up Kirosada on our
there you go.
in our Discord group. He'll repair your 3DS.
We talked about the big report of the upgraded Switch. Not sure what to call it, if it really is going to be a Switch Pro or if it's sort of just an upgraded Switch. And it sounds like some of these news and rumors that are coming out are suggesting that it's going to be a replacement, right? Like they're talking about how NVIDIA is stopping production of the current Switch chip. Is that what y'all read into this? Which suggests to me that once it's sold out, there'll be some newer version.
That's the rumor. Yeah. There's been a lot of weird rumors. Like we had a pretty big discussion last episode about kind of these Switch Pro rumors that have been coming out. And since then, it's kind of come to light that nobody really knows what the fuck they're talking about. Because I think that there are multiple conflicting reports where, some people are kind of assuming that this is like, that there might even be two units, right? Like a Switch XL, which is like the 7-inch OLED screen, but then the same SoC inside. And then there's reports of another one that'll do 4K without, the added boost of a dock, right? That's the DLSS Switch, and that's like kind of the Switch Pro or whatever, right? So it's really confusing, like all the different reports coming in right now. I'd like to think that they're all kind of the same thing and everybody just has bits of different information, because I don't want to be tempted by a Switch XL only to then have a Switch Pro come out the following year. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
certainly them saying that they're stopping the Tegra X1 or at least like slowing production on it, I think would, that would definitely suppose that there is some new kind of SoC coming that would include DLSS, that would have these 4K features, that would run games a little bit better. That's what I'm hoping. Matt, what did you take away from all this?
Yeah, just like thinking about when there was like a SKU shift back in the summer of 2020. That happened around the July time, right? June, July 2020. And we're coming up upon that time. There's probably a big, huge Nintendo ordered a bunch of those, Tegra X1 chips during summer 2020. Those are probably running out. And it would make sense to me that we're probably having whatever the next version of Tegra is, or backwards compatible and new NVIDIA chip.
Yeah. I think it also makes sense to me that like Nvidia would be the big kind of force behind this like expansion of the Switch, or kind of this next step. I feel like Nintendo would be more than happy to rest on their laurels with the Tegra X1 and the current SoC. But I think like Nvidia has a really good thing going with the Switch right now. They're selling, millions and millions of units, and it's all like custom hardware made by Nvidia. So like they love Nintendo, like they want to keep this relationship going. So I'm sure they probably came to them and said like, hey, we have this new thing that we're trying to do. We've got this DLSS thing. We'd love to build it into the hardware. We'll give it to you for cheap if you promise us you'll make, X million of them. Right. So either way, I think this is really good for Nintendo fans.
And I didn't think about it that from the business perspective of NVIDIA, but it totally makes sense to push a new chip and push all of their software stuff with DLSS. That totally makes sense.
I mean, AMD kind of has their own AI deep learning upscaling thing that they're working on that should be coming to like Xbox and Sony pretty soon as well. So I'm sure like NVIDIA really wants to get this stuff out so they can kind of corner the market as much as possible.
Cool. Any other thoughts on upgraded Switch? I mean, I know it's a big one, but
what do you think, Patrick? Do you have thoughts on this?
I don't know. Y'all just did a really great summary, so
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything to add beyond that.
I would say it kind of seems like if this is an upgrade, they are really trying to make it the next one you buy, but still the Switch. They're not trying to make it a second system you want both of. It's just going to be the next iteration of the Switch.
Right. Yeah. And that's a good move, I think. I think it's too early to replace it full out,
For sure. And everyone that's buying games now, you want to be able to play them all on whatever, it's all going to transfer into just, this is the newest one.
Totally.
Well, in addition to all that, there's some new Joy-Cons coming out. There's Fortnite Joy-Cons that were announced. I think there's already been Fortnite Joy-Cons with the Fortnite themed Switch, but now they are being sold separately, and these might be slightly different. They have the banana face on them or something like that.
Yeah, I think before it was like the balloon with the bus over the home button, and now it's like a banana face.
There you go.
They're blue and yellow. So if you've been in the market for some blue and yellow Joy-Cons, they're
with
about
a
to come
banana
out.
face on it.
If you've been looking in the market for blue and yellow Joy-Cons and you don't want another Switch.
The colors are cool. I don't know how I feel about the face.
Yeah. I feel like that limits it to you have to be a Fortnite fan and not just interested in the colors.
I wouldn't have known what that was otherwise. If someone just showed me that Joy-Con.
Like, did you put a sticker on there? Yeah.
I feel like that shade of blue would go really well with the new Mario shade of red Joy-Con that comes with the new Switch.
That's true.
So if you picked up a limited Mario themed Switch, these might be some good Joy-Cons to get.
Very specific audience there.
Yeah.
Hey, it's missing. They didn't have that yellow in there. The yellow of his little nipples, or the little buckles on his
his nipples.
Well, the yellow nipples.
Yeah.
that Mario has.
8BitDo announced another controller. It's the, what is it, David? It's the SN30 Pro 2 or something like that. Did I miss a plus in there somewhere? Maybe?
No, I think they dropped the plus here, and they're
plus.
just calling it the Pro 2. Yeah.
So this looks cool. And what would be the reason to get this? What's new about it or upgraded about it?
Looks like the main difference here is they have programmable toggle switches in the very back of the controller, so you can kind of add. You can assign that to different buttons on the back if you want to press buttons without your thumbs leaving the joysticks. And then just from a brief look at the website, it looks like also the macro and all the kind of settings that you could change with the last version of the controller, you would have to plug it into a PC in order to do that. And now it looks like there's an app that you can do it through on the phone, which probably makes it quite a bit easier to assign macro or any kind of button combinations, or they adjust the rumble sensitivity and stuff like that. You can all do that from an app now. These are really great controllers. If you haven't used the 8BitDo controllers, I really recommend grabbing this one. If you're looking for another Pro controller, but you don't want to spend like $70, these are really great alternatives. Matt, you have some 8BitDo controllers, right?
I do. I have the SN30 Pro Plus, whatever they're called. I don't know. They're great.
Yeah, great build
I got
quality.
one right here, actually. Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
There have been a couple of new Mario toys that were announced. There's some new Mario playsets that are coming from the company Jax. These look actually kind of cool as somebody who also likes toys, and Mario toys have come in varying qualities. We'll see what these are when they come out, but they look pretty cool. Little playsets that are all kind of look like they're based on 3D World.
Yeah, I like these cat figurines.
Yeah, they're cute, and they've got like posable things that a lot of the Mario toys don't typically have. So that's cool. And then Hot Wheels is releasing a really big Mario Kart Rainbow Road raceway track or what have you. It looks pretty cool, but man, it's real expensive, and we actually have a couple of these Mario Kart Hot Wheels tracks here. I don't know that I'd recommend them because I don't know. One of the things about Hot Wheels is you can like recombine all your stuff, but the Mario stuff's very specific and it's hard to like utilize when you make your own tracks and stuff. And while it connects, I don't know. In my experience, it's kind of been like we set it up the way it's meant to be set up. We play with it for a little bit and then we don't use it much after that because it's kind of hard to repurpose.
Gotcha.
So, but this one does look cool. So we'll see.
Too late. I've already burned all my Hot Wheels based on your recommendation.
It's $120.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Steep.
You know what? Instead, go get Mario Kart Home Circuit for $100.
Yeah.
A much more entertaining and interactive gameplay experience.
Yeah, that's part of it is the Mario Hot Wheels sets. It's kind of like you set them up and you push the button and they go.
Mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't feel as interactive as when you're building your own tracks and stuff with other Hot Wheels stuff. The February NPD numbers have come out, and that's the US physical sales, especially there's digital information in there, but Nintendo does not include give away its digital sales numbers. So for Nintendo stuff, it's physical only. But this is an interesting month for a lot of reasons. There's record spending of February as long as video game numbers have been tracked. This was a record breaking. And then we're talking about Mario 3D World. That's on the top of the Nintendo charts. So that's obviously doing pretty well. We'll see. I think it was said that it hasn't quite outsold the Wii U version yet, but that's probably going to happen soon. So we have that to look forward to. And then also Matt Piscatella, who kind of is in charge of these numbers and puts this information out and stuff, said it's really interesting because next month we'll be comparing against the pandemic. Usually there's a lot of year-on-year comparisons, and it's like we've been in this for a year, so it'll be really weird to compare,
especially to last March.
Yeah,
that's a pretty big difference.
Right.
Yeah.
And last March had Animal Crossing, which is another thing to see if Nintendo can, have a better March than it had last year.
What does Nintendo have coming out in March this month? Do they have any big games?
Monster Hunter?
I guess Monster Hunter, yeah.
It's there's
big, no way
it's as big in the US.
I think there's no way Nintendo can match what they did last March then.
Yeah. Though it was kind of also like a growing thing, and I feel like it came out towards the end of the month, and
Animal Crossing?
Yeah, right?
It was March 20th.
There you go. Thank you.
Friends Day, I believe. It launched on Friends Day.
Yeah. And also another little tidbit that was interesting is total US sales dollars of the Switch have exceeded the DS in the US, that is. So that's another sort of record-breaking thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there's a lot to go over there, but just video games continue to sell well in this environment. It'll be really interesting if the summer things, quote unquote, return to normal. Will video game sales and all that stay strong? We'll see. Also, will things return to normal ever? I don't know. I hope not.
Yeah,
we'll
despite tons of people watching The Masked Singer, they still like playing video games too.
Hey, people are getting vaccinated. at record paces. I got
Yeah.
one coming up.
That's true, but also people have Switches now. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like they bought one and they're just going to put it aside. Those
Yeah.
people are still going to be buying games now.
Well, everybody will just be playing their Switch in crowded bars with a lot of people now when the pandemic is over.
We got a ways to go, right? Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Although
Yeah.
But I do miss, like, before the pandemic, I did often bring my Switch to bars and did play a lot of Switch in bars and was very cool while doing it.
So cool.
Yeah, it was great. I would play a lot of Puyo Puyo Tetris in bars. It was a hit.
We kind of talked about this last week too, but Bethesda and Microsoft had their official acquisition announcement and all that, and they had like a Bethesda joins Xbox presentation, which I didn't actually get a chance to watch. I tried to sit down and watch this, but something came up. Did anybody here look at any of this or read about this or have any? They kind of talked about which, the distribution of Bethesda games in the future, and it seems like they're going to try to keep them exclusive, right? Except for maybe some, big ones where there would be multiplayer or something like that. Is that's the way I read it? Is that y'all's take or?
Not multiplayer. That's not how I understood it. I think he said that like the Bethesda games, like basically unless they already have contracts in place, that all future Bethesda games will only come to platforms that have Game Pass, right? So it's like, I think he's talking there like, PC and phones and Xbox at the moment, right?
Right.
But I think it's kind of like putting the ball in Nintendo and Sony's court and being like, hey, I know you guys want Elder Scrolls 6. I know you guys want Starfield, maybe consider putting Game Pass on your platforms. You know what I mean? Which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility. It's been speculated quite a bit with the Switch, especially with the xCloud streaming stuff that they're doing. But yeah, seeing Game Pass on like a PS5 that'd be wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else on this one?
I think it was just really, really weird to see like Phil Spencer and Todd Howard, the CEO of Bethesda, just like hanging out. They talked about some history of Bethesda, like 90s Bethesda history before, ZeniMax ended up buying them. So talked about all of the stuff, Doom, all of those things.
We heard from Matt Booty. So it's just fun to say his name.
Yeah, Matt Booty. It was like Phil Spencer that introduced him as like the secret sauce to Bethesda, or some weird introduction who makes all the business dealings.
Yeah, I mean, just other than obviously the stuff about future Bethesda games, they added like 20 Bethesda games to Game Pass as well. So a lot of those are also on the Switch. But if you have Game Pass, the value of that subscription just keeps getting better and better and better over time. And they didn't add all the Bethesda games. I'm sure they're kind of doling them out in spurts at the moment, but as of right now, there's a lot of really great, very long games to sink your teeth into if you're a Game Pass subscriber.
I have a question for you on that topic, David. Is when, let's say, you have no games to play. Mm-hmm. Let's just imagine the world where you have 0 games to play.
Never gonna be a world, but yes.
Yeah. Well, would you ever like the behavior where you like open up Netflix and like scroll and scroll and scroll to find that? Do you think we'll ever get to that point with Game Pass?
Oh, I'm already there.
Oh, you're already there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I'm like I do that all the time where I'm like basically because I'm not like a normal person where it's like they start a game and they're like, oh, okay, well, I've got something to play now. It's like I'll play a game for a few hours and then I'm like, okay, well, I need a new game now. Even though it's like, a 70-hour story-based game, it's like I just am like, okay, well, what's next? And so I'll do that all the time on Game Pass. And even games have already started. It's just like, which one do I pick? And then I usually just continue playing Picross.
This is why you haven't finished Fire Emblem.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a starter.
That and Sasha and I started playing that game together, so it wasn't like something that really one of us could just kind of continue. We had to like both carve time out of our schedule to play that game because we're both like pretty invested in the characters. So
yeah, that makes sense.
David, it's now your turn to get bullied to play Fire Emblem.
Yeah, you gotta beat it.
Yeah, we need a new person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or we can just keep bothering you, Matt, to play the other routes.
Yeah.
Don't start there.
Yeah.
No, honestly, you guys should bother me because I want to finish that game. I just am terrible at beating games. But if you guys, bullied me and beat the shit out of me.
Well, in our virtual world, I don't know if we could do that, but we'll find something.
You can do it. If you put your mind to it.
We'll hack
Order
your
a hit.
Twitter. That's
Yeah.
beating you up digitally.
Yeah, you hear that, everybody? Hack my fucking Twitter.
Yes. Now we're going to get Matt onto the bully side.
Right.
Next news item, there's a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game announced, Shredder's Revenge. And it's a sort of throwback to the 80s cartoon Turtles, and in particular the arcade game from that era, the like 4-player brawler beat 'em up type arcade game that is very popular.
Mm-hmm.
So this looks pretty cool, I think. Hopefully it's going to be a good game. There's been some bad Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games in relative recent history. So published by the same people that did Streets of Rage 4, which is a good retro modern brawler. So
And Windjammers.
And Windjammers.
Yeah. You're talking the publishers .emu. I never quite understand their role because they're listed as the publisher, but they're also in some cases listed as the developer for Streets of Rage or like Windjammers 2.
Yeah, and then Tribute is the company that's listed as the developer here, and I don't know a lot about them.
I know Tribute is made up of some ex-Ubisoft developers, and some of those people are people that worked on the Scott Pilgrim versus the World game, which is known as being a really great beat 'em up, 2D brawler. So I think like that, that game's penchant for a really good 2D pixel art. And then I think the style of this is very much not like the new TMNT or whatever. It's like the original Ninja Turtles style. And it looks like they're really going for that classic style. I feel like they probably have a pretty good grasp on what people want out of a Ninja Turtles game. Looks very Turtles in Time or the arcade game. So, I mean, I'm not a huge beat 'em up guy, but even I was looking at this and I was like, that looks pretty fucking good. So I'm into it.
And Square Enix is getting on the direct train. They are having a Square Enix Presents, and they even made a nice joke about the Presents versus Presents thing when they announced this.
Did they really?
Yeah, or somewhere on I think it's on their website maybe.
Thanks for listening to the show, Square Enix.
Yeah. I thought I put it here in the notes, but I apparently did not. Yeah. Going to be a 40-minute event coming out on the March 18th. This is like the day after this podcast releases. So look out for that. What are we hoping for here? Is this exciting to anybody? Is there
Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 3? Let's go. I don't think we're gonna get that.
They have said Life is Strange is going to be a big part of it, a new Life is Strange game, but I don't think they've said much otherwise that I've seen, at least.
Right.
I mean, I guess I'm just interested to see what they have to say. The fact they're doing a 40-minute presentation sounds interesting, but I don't really know what to expect.
Yeah.
I think 38 minutes of Life is Strange is what you can expect.
Yeah, it does. Are they gonna have a nicely packaged 40 minutes, or is this gonna feel like a long state of play or something?
We'll see. I mean, maybe they're doing this because they're frustrated with Sony's state of plays. Because Sony often shows Square Enix in their state of plays, but also like the state of plays are oftentimes really weirdly paced and people aren't that interested in them. So maybe Square Enix is like, well, we'll just do our own. 40 minutes is a long time. I think, you were making a joke about Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver there, but I mean, we did hear that news recently about that studio that's going to be kind of revisiting old PlayStation classics or whatever from the Square Enix franchise. Maybe it wasn't PlayStation classics. We just kind of maybe assumed that. But do you think we'll see anything from that here?
I feel like this is pure speculation, but there's been more rumblings about people talking about Soul Reaver lately on Reddit, just like on r/games, where people are reposting the intro to Soul Reaver when Kane, sends Raziel to like the spirit world or whatever, and how like intense that intro is, and like everyone's like commenting like they want to remake or replay it or something like that. But that came out of nowhere. So sounds like guerrilla marketing to me. So I believe it.
That'd be cool. That franchise really needs to be revisited.
I think realistically, we're probably going to get first 15 minutes of Final Fantasy VII remake and the new Yuffie side story.
Probably.
And then in our last little bit of news, just to kind of move us into the main topic as well, there's a new glitch that was discovered in Zelda Breath of the Wild. I think there had already been some mods that had done this, turned the game into a first-person game, but somebody found a way that if you pull out the like in-game camera tablet thing and then switch quickly to an item and yada yada, you can glitch yourself into a first-person view and swing your sword and walk around and that kind of thing. So if that sounds like fun, it's still in the game, and I don't think Nintendo's updating Breath of the Wild at this point to patch out things, so it likely will be there. We'll see. Now
the question is, can you combine that with the Labo support to have a truly first-person VR Zelda game?
If you want to throw up, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to look at very low resolutions right up on your eyeballs.
I do want to throw up, Patrick.
So that's kind of cool, though, that people are still discovering cool things in that game.
That is cool. I'm always astounded. Like, I feel like every week I see a new Breath of the Wild glitch or like some new exploit in the game and it's been out for 4 years now.
Yeah.
It's such a long time.
People are still playing it though.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, maybe we'll save this for the main topic, but just that first like month or two of it coming out, just looking online and seeing like a new, like there were, I don't remember who was doing this, but there were like compilations of like people streaming the game on Twitch and just doing like wacky, crazy shit. Like every night there would be a new one, and I would watch those all the time. Anyway, we can move on. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Well, let's move on. We'll take a real quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about our main topic, which is speculating about the Zelda 35th anniversary and what that will be like. All right, so this week we are talking about the alleged, supposed Zelda 35th anniversary.
Hopeful.
I guess there actually was an anniversary, right? So that technically already happened, but
that's right.
Last year, Nintendo announced and had a Mario 35th anniversary celebration that started in September and is actually still kind of going on, right? They announced it for a 6-month period that ends at the end of March. And there was a lot of speculation about that. It kind of leaked that it was happening, and there were some trademark filings, and then similar things kind of happened with Zelda. So there's been a lot of people that think there's a similar event or direct or series of announcements that will happen at some point this year. And here we are past the actual 35th anniversary for Zelda, and they now have announced Skyward Sword HD coming, sort of not as part of an official 35th anniversary. So the question we're going to posing and discussing is, will there be a formal Zelda 35th anniversary? If so, when? And what will happen? What will it look like? What will take place? What sort of software, hardware can we expect?
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised they announced Skyward Sword without announcing something bigger.
Yeah.
Because that would have been a good thing to kind of bundle as, if they have a game kind of ready, that's a great starting point. You don't have to tell us everything, but tell us there's gonna be something.
Yeah, you mean like without hinting that there is gonna be more Zelda news or something?
Yeah, even if they had said, to kick it off, here's a game, and then just kind of hint that there's more coming.
Well, I don't know how into this segment we are of speculating already, but I think like for me that feels like, you know, I think that says to me that we're going to get a ton of Zelda stuff this year. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they wanted to show this now because this thing is going to be coming out in June, right? Is that when
July, I believe.
In July. And I guess they also have the Joy-Cons coming out around the same time.
True, yeah. Which are
and so I think
just
that,
not available anywhere.
Right. But I mean, like, if they're showing that now, I think that kind of says I think that says two things. I think that says that they wanted to get some sort of Zelda announcement out around the time of Zelda's actual 35th anniversary, right?
That's a good point.
Because unfortunately, yeah, I mean, like you look around YouTube, you see like all these YouTubers and all these people on Twitter like celebrating the first Zelda game for the NES, like when it turned 35, and then Nintendo was like totally silent, you know? So I think they wanted something because there was that kind of big Zelda hype around its actual birthday.
Yeah.
So I think
that was late February, right?
Right. And so I think there's that. And then I think also it just says that if they're comfortable enough announcing that now, I think that it means that we'll have a ton of Zelda stuff coming out and a lot of announcements that could fill their own Zelda Direct at some point down the line. Although Patrick is not so convinced, I think, or historically on this show is not so convinced that there will be a big Zelda anniversary.
I feel like the opposite. I feel like the fact that they announced this separately and that it's its own standalone game, that they're going to want to wait until this game launches to announce any other Zelda news. And to the extent that they package it as a 35th anniversary, I kind of wonder if they're waiting to see if they can finish Breath of the Wild 2 this year. And that's their goal, is to make that the big anniversary. And then if it doesn't, then maybe they do something else, or they just don't have a big celebration.
Yeah, I think they probably wanted that. But if the game's getting delayed, they might be trying to put together other stuff. But also, like, a really important thing of why haven't they talked about it is we're still in the Mario celebration.
Yeah,
totally.
So I think they're just waiting until March is over.
I think that is correct. Yeah.
And then the question of when between March and July releases of Skyward Sword, are they going to say anything early? Are they going to wait? That, who knows? But I think they weren't going to say anything until March is done. So that makes sense why they would skip the actual anniversary.
Yeah, and I think like Jeff Grubb, who we talk about sometimes, has said the reason they're holding back some of this stuff is because of marketing. And there's been some other people that say that there's definitely Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are going to come to the Switch.
Yeah, they've got to.
That speculation about waiting till Mario ends, it also makes me wonder if there is some virtual console way to purchase or play Sunshine and that kind of stuff. And if that will, maybe they don't announce it on March 31st, but maybe that will tie into how you play Wind Waker and Twilight Princess.
How do you mean?
Well, like if there is some sort of Wii or and GameCube emulator or virtual console that you can buy or buy games for, or whatever, that's gonna like include some of these Zelda titles. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I could see that, but I think that would be more work for Nintendo, and I think it would be easier for them to port the Wii U versions of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, right? Because those were like really successful on the Wii U, and they were excellent ports as well. Both of those ports had quite a bit of work done on them. I mean, probably Wind Waker more than Twilight Princess, but even Twilight Princess, that's probably the definitive way to play that game is on the Wii U. With all those enhancements and everything and in HD. So I feel like people would get pretty pissed off, I think, if they didn't port the HD versions of those games.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Some purists would probably enjoy it, but
maybe more Ocarina of Time or something like that might.
Yeah, because there are like the 3DS versions of Ocarina and Majora that I think they're going to bring over in some format.
Yeah, you think so? Maybe let's talk about that. Yeah, so if we see Ocarina of Time and Majora, in what form will we see those games?
Yeah, because there's been a lot of iterations.
Right.
They had like the actual N64 cartridge for Ocarina of Time. They made a GameCube version that had Master Quest. They then did I guess the next one might have just been the 3DS one,
Mm-hmm.
but they've had it in quite a few different iterations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that, not to belittle the porting process from Wii U, but if they've ported so many games from Wii U that it feels like porting from Wii U to Switch is just you slap it down on the Switch and it's done. I'm sure there's more to it than that, but
it
it's
feels like they know that that's working. So why would they stop? Yeah,
right.
As a person who's not in software development, slapping is a perfect term.
All you do is you just grab it and you slap it.
You grab it, you slap it, and then you get a lawsuit. But no, I think. But all of that is to say, I think that porting a game from 3DS takes considerably more work, right? You can't. We've seen 3DS emulators where you can run games at 1080p and you're basically upscaling and everything looks pretty good, but it's like there's quite a bit of work there to be done, right? Yeah, you got to completely overhaul the UI. I mean, you have to do that for Wii U too if you're accounting for the gamepad, but with the 3DS especially, you have to overhaul the UI, because a lot of times the stuff that would be on the top screen would be on the bottom screen.
I think they're going to do it. I don't know if they're going to do it now, but one of the things that they announced with the trademark updates was that they trademarked again Phantom Hourglass, which is 3DS only.
Right.
And that and the Wind Waker, it's basically a sequel to Wind Waker.
Right.
But since it's a totally different kind of system, it's not often remembered. But Phantom Hourglass is a great game that they haven't revisited yet. And if they could somehow tie it into we can now port 3DS games, that would probably do pretty well.
Spirit Tracks too, do you think?
Yeah, because they're using the same thing. And both of those really do use the touchpad. Like you're drawing stuff with the little stylus and you actually have to blow into it. I don't know how they would do that.
Right.
Well, but they used all of those gimmicks.
So for those, do you see them doing it kind of like the way that they did like the Mega Man Legends collection or what was it, the ZX collection, right? Where they had they'll have kind of most of the screen real estate being the top DS screen and then kind of a smaller bit over here for the touch screen. Like how would you do that on the Switch is my question. I feel like you would have to rebuild it,
That's true. And I don't know if it's really possible, but that's really a question of if they can figure that out and figure out a good way to do it, they'd open up so much possibility for themselves of taking over games. And we're talking more and more about how do you port over a bunch of games and have some kind of service for it. If they are actually going to do it, I think they're going to try to go the whole way and get 3DS.
Yeah, that would be really awesome.
Because, I feel like with Zelda too, we've seen so many HD remakes of the GameCube games and earlier. But Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks are sitting in that sweet spot where they skipped them. They're doing Skyward Sword. We already have remakes of everything else. I feel like it's time for remakes of those.
Yeah. Minish Cap too would be really nice to see. Or the Oracle games.
I really do want the Oracle games.
Yeah.
Those would be doable too.
I'd love to play A Link Between Worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah. A Link Between Worlds is such a good game.
It is a good game.
Yeah. And it's like a rare actual sequel too, in the Zelda universe,
Yeah, it's not just A Link to the Past. It's A Link to the Past with some interesting twists.
With rentable weapons.
Yeah. Art.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Oracle games I think would be totally doable though, because they just did Link's Awakening. They could just use that system. The original Oracle art style is pretty much Link's Awakening's successor.
That would be great. It just seems like we're now talking about a lot of work.
Yeah, there's a lot of games.
Much. That's why I would be amazed if they don't do something. If they don't do anything, I think fans are going to be mad.
They've already done something. That's where I keep they've announced Skyward Sword, which has never been on another system, and
right.
And I'm not saying that's the end
an
of
overhaul.
It.
Yeah.
And if Breath of the Wild 2 is a holiday game, I don't know how much they want to right now dump other Zelda games with those two. I don't know how much it would actually cannibalize their sales unless it is a part of a service or something.
Right.
Matt, what do you think? You haven't given us your overall take on this.
Yeah, I think my question is less of what games will be included And I think about, maybe this is going back a little, but when. And the best thing that we have is, what happened with Mario 35 collection, the Mario 3D collection. We had a September 2020 direct, and then like 2 weeks later, the collection came out. So if we're gonna follow, and Mario 3D collection was announced before Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury.
Right.
So I don't know if the 3D collection was meant to, to push 3D World sales or vice versa. But using that model, it would make sense that we have Skyward Sword coming out in July, and then we have an August or September Zelda 35 announcement, and then maybe a collection coming out October, November. Assuming that Breath of the Wild, I don't think it'll come out in 2021.
No.
I think it's going to get bumped till like the 5th year anniversary in March.
Well, maybe then Breath of the Wild 2, if we're going by that Mario 35th anniversary kind of year that they did celebration, maybe Breath of the Wild 2 releases in February of 2022, kind of like it was February or March, right? Like kind of in that Mario 3D World spot, right? Because I think you're right. Like this kind of goes by their fiscal years, right? It's like the Mario was like, it really started later in the year, but I think what they had intended was to have the game out earlier, probably by summer, probably by E3. A lot of people said that, if E3 had not been canceled, Nintendo's big thing would have been a big Mario celebration, right? So I imagine that the 3D All-Stars probably would have been their big summer game, but then the pandemic pushed it all back. I think that's why we saw that direct in September, as they were kind of scrambling. They're not used to working from home. It took them a long time. That's why I think that we'll probably see something a little bit earlier in the year this year. But I think you're right, Patrick. Also, I think that they do want to have announcements for Breath of the Wild too. They know that's what everybody wants.
Yeah.
But I mean, if this is all leading up to Breath of the Wild 2, I mean, what better, advertising for that game can you have? Yeah.
Yeah. They've also set it up in a way where Skyward Sword is technically the first in the timeline. So they could string it out and be like, here's the first. And then here we'll do a re-release collection. And then just build it up and then end at the end of the year with, it's a little later than expected, but here you go, Breath of the Wild 2.
Oh my God. If they release all the Zelda games in chronological order throughout the year,
I would be happy.
Dude, so many people would be happy. Yeah. That's incredible.
Another question there, though, are they going to be bundles or are they going to make you buy each one?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We all know the answer to that, probably.
Yeah, it's each one.
Yeah. How many copies of Twilight Princess do you want to own?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't think we're hearing anything about this, if to the extent that it even exists, until July, or right? Like, I don't think they're gonna.
I agree with that.
Make maybe June, but like, I just don't think they're gonna try to take away from Skyward Sword.
No, but it might help it sell.
Yeah. See, I kind of disagree there. I think that the way to do this, I think the best way to market this is have the Zelda 35th anniversary direct in June. You know what I mean? And have a sizable chunk of that showing off Skyward Sword again, right? And then showing Groos's Fury or whatever they had.
They're not doing it. They've already shown the box.
but I think it's like, I think you can though, be like, hey, and don't forget Skyward Sword's coming out in a month. Right? Because they announced that quite a bit ahead of time, right? And they'll probably do another sort of video thing before that comes out. So why wouldn't you loop that in, right? And I think, I think you might be onto something there, Emma, where you're talking about this being the first game in the series and then maybe being the first game that they released during this anniversary. Because I think I can really see, and I don't want to get my hopes too high, which absolutely this whole episode is going to be doing.
Well, yeah, if you're thinking that every single Zelda game is going to come out in chronological
order. If every single Zelda game that has ever been released was on the fucking Wii U, then know that they want to put them all on the Switch too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
even
like,
if they don't even if they don't do like a huge every single game, I think whatever they do release will probably be chronological, where they kind of build it up. And even that direct that they showed, they were like, okay, look, this was how we started to get the idea for the open world. And here's how we started to get the sword motion idea. I think they want to build a story. And if they do a year-long release or something, it would make sense to kind of sell it that way. Maybe do a direct ahead of time. Get the hype up for Skyward Sword. Because there are already people that are like, oh, that game wasn't great. It's awesome, but people didn't like the controls.
Yeah.
So if they really sell it as like, this is a launching point, guys, really get into it, I think people will buy it.
So are we thinking September for Skyward Sword 2 or what are we thinking here?
That's
a little early.
Okay. More wild speculation. What if Miitopia was Nintendo's test to see how long it took to port a 3DS game to the Nintendo Switch?
Yes.
Okay.
And you know who's doing Miitopia? Who's porting it?
Is it Grezzo? I don't know.
It's Grezzo, who A, did the Link's Awakening remake, but B and C did the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask 3DS versions. So if Grezzo is doing the porting here, I mean, the question is how long did it take them to port that? And B, are they done with it already? Has Nintendo just been sitting on this? You know what I mean? And now they're releasing it. And then in that interim time, they've been porting Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
I like the idea.
And then those games come with new hats. Well, anyway, this is some wild spec.
We've talked a lot about games, and we don't have to be done with that. But what about like if they do have a anniversary? Will there be any? We've already seen these Joy-Cons, so maybe is there anything else physical? Like
let's get
the Mario.
Some Legend of Zelda Oreos, some Levi's.
There you go.
Yeah, they had the tie-in with
Hot Wheels
with all these physical things, but they also had the Game & Watch and the pins.
What's Emma?
Will we see stuff like that?
Sorry for interrupting.
Go
Emma,
ahead.
What's that one retailer, that Australian retailer that has like those really cool Pokemon dresses?
Oh, Black Milk.
Yeah, Black Milk. All their stuff is dope.
It's so good.
If they had some Zelda
I would
merch.
buy that. I mean, I'm going to buy pins. I'll buy hats. Like, they should make merch because people will buy it.
Oh my God. I'm about to try to get some fucking Zelda pins. Oh my God.
Hell yeah.
Well, I wonder if there is going to be some similarities. Maybe it won't be pins this time, but it will be something, like that. Or people like pins.
Yeah.
So maybe it'll be pins.
Another thing that I'm really curious about for the 25th anniversary, they did an entire concert symphony. So I'm really curious if they're going to do anything that's not necessarily physical merch, but like collaboration, some kind of celebration. Like we did a whole worldwide symphony tour. They have to do something.
Yeah. If they'll do tie-ins with the games like they did, they had a Splatfest and a Animal Crossing now as Mario stuff. Will they do?
What would it be like?
things?
Triforce versus.
Oh, if I could
Wisdom
put a Master
versus Courage.
Sword
Wisdom
on my
versus
island
Courage.
somewhere.
Yeah.
That would be
Oh,
so
I
cool.
could definitely see Animal Crossing Zelda stuff for sure.
That would be amazing.
I think you could do some really slick like clothing and fashion stuff though, because like some of the Mario stuff was pretty cool, and then Pokemon's got its 25th anniversary, but Nintendo seems pretty hands off on that, right? Like this, like Pokemon Company is kind of just like, look, we've got a whole thing, we got the factory running with all the Pokemon shit, we've got our partners, right? But I think I could definitely see some cool merch. Yeah, I'd love to see another concert. I mean, it's I don't think we'll get that because of COVID.
Yeah, but then like they did a music release with the 3D All-Stars game. Would they do some kind of package where you have a library of Zelda songs?
Yeah.
Will Post Malone do a Zelda cover?
I don't know if I want that.
What are some other Hootie and the
Da Baby will do a Zelda tribute. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut off your hilarious Hootie and the Blowfish joke.
No. What's another Hootie and the Blowfish song?
I don't know that they
That's
had
the
another hit.
They'll do it. It'll be Da Baby doing a crash test dummies song.
Crash Test Dummies. Oh boy.
People might watch it.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I to answer your question, Patrick, yes, I just think absolutely. Like, I just feel like Zelda is like hotter than ever. Like Mario is like Nintendo's Mickey Mouse, right? But like Zelda is at an all
They're
time.
princesses.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of the Disney.
They're Goofy
Zelda,
movie?
yeah,
Donald Duck.
yeah, it's Donald Duck. Okay, you know,
But with
how
a sword.
yeah, Donald Duck with a sword. It's Kingdom Hearts. But I think we're
you're
at,
right,
like
though.
Breath of the Wild like infused this huge like new. I mean, Zelda was always huge, and Nintendo has always rolled out the red carpet for Zelda. Like you were saying, like with Nintendo's Mario's 25th anniversary, they released Super Mario All Stars, the Super Nintendo game, on a disc, and that was pretty much it. But then for the 25th anniversary of Zelda, they had the concert, they had all this different kind of stuff. They've released multiple collections throughout the years of Zelda games, and so it's like I do think we'll see stuff. We see Zelda like special edition consoles all the time. You know, they know
big.
the hardcore Nintendo fans are hardcore Zelda fans.
Yeah, they
know?
also have had some fantastically acclaimed games. Like
Mhm.
Ocarina of Time had one of the highest scores on Metacritic for a long time, if not still. It had
Mhm.
like a 99.
Yeah. So I think without a doubt we'll see something this year, and it's, you know, at this point it's just how high can they go? Like how much are they willing to do? How much are they willing to spend on ports? You know what I mean? And then yeah, like what's the kind of the cultural thing going to be for it? I don't know. I'd love to eat you know, another gaming system and be wrong on this. But I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that this is going to happen, and we'll see some shit.
I think probably if you'd asked me a year or two ago, I would have said Breath of the Wild 2. It was their plan. And then with everything going on and that getting pushed back, maybe that's changed things. But if they can get Breath of the Wild 2 out by next March, I think they will string us along between Skyward Sword to then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've talked a lot about, maybe we've also talked about unrealistic things, but is there anything that you personally would really like to see that we haven't already mentioned? I mean, we've maybe said every game coming out in Zelda timeline chronological history, so that there's not much else to hope for, but if maybe a more realistic hope for something or something specific.
I'm thinking like some like surprise merch that we saw with like Mario Kart Circuit, some AR things, or even like with Lego Mario, something, you know, like a Master Sword,
A remote control
sword.
horse.
Epona remote control, an
That's gotta
actual
exist.
horse.
Just an actual horse.
Do you guys think that we'll see some sort of Zelda 35, like we had Super Mario Brothers 35, like Legend of
Cool.
Zelda 35?
I hope so. That would be a personal hope, that there's some sort of new game, or, you know, it's not just all remasters, and it doesn't have to be like a amazing new game, but something like that feels like a cool service based.
Yeah. Along those lines, Four Sword Adventure type things, if you did
That's what I was
something
gonna
like
bring
that multiplayer online.
Yeah. I think that's just like an obvious Nintendo Switch Online pack-in, I think. You know what I mean? If you could play that online with your friends, I think that doesn't even seem like that much work either, right? Like,
No, you just grab it and slap it.
Just grab it, slap it, put it on the Switch.
Doable. Yeah, I think that's actually a really good idea.
That should be the Switch's subtitle, by the way. The Switch. Grab it, slap it, put it on the Switch.
Little disclaimer at the bottom, please don't slap this.
Yeah. Nintendo slap of quality. Yeah.
So another probably way too out there idea. I would like a Zelda themed Switch Pro. Just give it to me. If they released one that just has a giant Triforce or something cool, and that was like the selling thing of Switch Pro, ready to go, buy your cool Zelda stuff, maybe Breath of the Wild 2 around the same time, I would fight people to buy that.
Yeah. And conversely to that, if they released a Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask themed Switch Lite, I would buy that as well.
I hope that if they do that, they announce it at the same time that they announce the Switch Pro, because I feel like, there just haven't been as many variant Switches as there were, like, say 3DSs or something. And and if they have like, oh, we've got the Switch Pro and you can get gray or red and blue, and then 6 months later here's this cool Zelda one, that'll
they
feel
did that with
frustrating.
the Zacian and Zamazenta Switch Lite. Whenever
That
they
was
announced that, it
announced.
was like, I think the same time they announced that. So
Yeah, let's hope
I
for
could see it
that.
happening.
Yeah, and they do like making Zelda versions of their systems. There was a 3DS that was just a Triforce and cool gold.
There's a Wind Waker Wii U.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, anything else to wrap this up? Anything that you want, that you hope that we see or you think is realistic, or timeline, or anything else about a Zelda
David,
35th that we might have?
Curious, David, what your thoughts are. If we'll probably get Zelda pins, what do you think the pins are? And will you have a heart attack again?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have a heart attack. I had a panic attack. My heart's on its way out, but it's not quite there yet. No, but yeah, I mean, I think that they would probably just do what they did for Mario, where it would be a different Link from each game, right?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
It's not as iconic. I feel like, like they have the power-ups in Mario. Like what?
Well,
Heart container?
Yeah, well, no,
Triforce.
I think it would absolutely be different links, because it's like, if you look at the pins, what all the pins are just the whatever Mario is on the box art for that game, right? It's like the Mario jumping with the mushroom from the very first one, or Mario with the Yoshi in the cape from Mario World. You know what I mean? Like, the fucking, him where he's like, I just bumped this, but where he's got the little pack on him. I don't know. I feel like I need to pose, but like, so I think, I think each Zelda or each Link is very uniquely designed. Like, I feel like that's been, I mean, obviously other than like Spirit Tracks and Wind Waker and Twilight, or not Twilight Princess.
Yeah, that's to the point though that some of them are quite different. The Mario pins seemed like a series. For Zelda, if you had every single different Link, the cell shaded, the more dark Twilight Princess, like it's harder to make it a set.
Yeah.
I think Emma,
Also, they might do just like Velcro bits or something instead of pins. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be totally different.
It's like, what were we going to say?
Keychains.
Yeah. I think items make sense to me.
Yeah.
Where you have the heart container, Triforce, boomerang,
Master Sword?
bow, Master Sword, and then like one Link.
Yeah, I mean, they're iconic enough. I think that could work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely like Mario seems like the fun franchise, and like Zelda is like the prestige franchise. You know what I mean? So
Serious
that's
and silly.
Serious and silly. Exactly. And so it's like, I think that, maybe pins are too silly, maybe they'll do like, iron-on patches or something.
How do you top the prestige of making a whole frickin' symphony orchestra, David?
Iron-on patches.
The iron-on patches. They'll make their own country.
A
Zelda
Zelda-themed
is the
Roth
government.
IRA.
Exactly.
The real grown-up game.
It'll be Zelda. They'll make their own cryptocurrency. It'll be Zelda coin.
Okay, we should stop there.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, ultimately, there's just too many things. I will be happy to see something.
Yeah.
I want them to surprise me and do something.
I guess final thoughts before we move on. When do you think this is going to happen?
Again, at the earliest, they're going to do something in the summer, though I also wonder if they'll want to have Skyward Sword already out before they go crazy announcing other things. So I don't know. July-ish.
Yeah, I think right before Skyward Sword, kind of build up to it. Even if they don't say anything about what's coming, but just say, okay, here comes the anniversary.
Get ready.
Go buy Skyward Sword.
Right. Yeah. Matt, you agree with that?
I'm saying, according to the good book.
What does it say about our timeline?
Yeah. It says the timeline doesn't make sense at all.
If we had like 2 more hours, I could explain.
It'll come out. They'll announce all this stuff in June, but in the timeline where Link failed in Ocarina of Time.
Oh. I mean, that's where the original game is.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, y'all. All right. So that does it for our Zelda talk. And when we come back, we're going to take a listener question. And then we'll do what games we've been playing. Kyle Baker, we're taking another one of your questions. You just gave us this one. What role, if any, should an upgraded dock play in a Switch revision or next generation of a Nintendo console? He states he's not well-versed enough to know how feasible a thing would be, but could a dock be used as an external power cooling boost to up the performance of the hybrid? And that's it already does up the performance of the Switch when it's docked, right? I mean, but how far could that go? Or I guess is somewhat or will that be a part of a Switch Pro? We kind of talked about this in the rumors part, right? Like there was speculation that it's going to be 4K, but maybe that's the dock. Maybe it's not the dock, right?
Right. And yes, like you were saying, Patrick, I think that, the dock already does that to a certain extent. Like that's kind of the point of the dock is right now. It's not much. It's just a little bit of a boost to kind of bring it to where it needs to be for like 1080 instead of 720, right? Or the standard Switch is 720. Now that having been said, they could do quite a bit more with the dock, I think. I think that, friend of the show, MVG, has videos on this on his YouTube channel. He's pushed the Switch to its limits as far as overclocking is concerned. And a lot of third-party games right now, if you allocate more RAM to the actual system or allow the games to access more RAM on the Switch, the Switch gets hotter and it runs harder, but you get way better frame rates and you get better resolutions when you have games that have scaling resolutions. So I think, if you had a strong enough dock that was adding enough oomph and giving it enough cooling, I think that could definitely help a lot with docked gameplay. That could maybe even get you to 4K.
Yeah, it'd be like, could that be the upgrade? It would be an interesting kind of side question here, right? Like, could you have the same Switch and get a nicer dock that, you know what I mean? Or could that be an option or something, I don't know.
Matt, what do you think about that?
That would make sense to me. That's what I would like the most is just to buy like a standalone dock. It replaces my old one and allows me to play DLSS 4K on using my existing Switch.
Although, if there was a new dock that made your games run better, would you want to use your old dock? I would probably want to buy multiple docks for multiple TVs. But also, I don't know that you could incorporate DLSS into a dock. I think that at that point, you'd have to have a whole new chipset inside of the Switch. You know what I mean? Like, you basically need your own chip to be able to run DLSS. So it's like, I think that you could maybe get some, though, just straight up old school upscaling through a dock. You know what I mean? But that kind of machine learning, like AI enhanced upscaling, I don't know that would be something you could do with a dock.
Yeah, I think we are limited by the USB-C connector, which is like 5 gigabits bandwidth or something like that. And I think it's just enough to where it supports 4K, but not up to 8K. But I think there are some limitations with the USB-C pins that the Nintendo Switch uses to use that bandwidth.
And past that, you would need really HDMI 2.1 in order to get high frame rates and 4K out of the Switch, right? Or out of the dock rather. So that would definitely need a new dock in order to do that. So I think basically, to answer your question, Kyle, regardless of whether or not there is a new build within the Switch, you're going to need a new dock to get 4K gameplay onto the TV, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's worth it though. I think at that point you just want to have a whole new chipset inside the Switch. Do you have any thoughts on this, Emma?
Not really. I mean, it seems like they go hand in hand. You know, right. If they're going to be revamping one, it seems like they're going to revamp both.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if they could make them cheaper, though.
It does also seem to me, and this maybe I'm wrong, that if they're going to revamp both, they also kind of both need to be backwards compatible so that you could put your old Switch on the new dock and your new Switch on the old dock. But maybe they don't care about that, and maybe that won't be the case. But that would limit it then too, right?
I would love some sort of dock that has the ability to output to a TV for the Switch Lite. If they could somehow figure that out, that would be really cool.
That goes into, like, again, way speculative, but if they could create some kind of dock situation where you didn't need to dock it,
right?
You could port 3DS games.
Your screen, to dual screen.
Yeah, because if you could hold it like a basically Wii U pad and then have a dock be able to somehow also
project
cast to your TV
image than what's on your
then there's your 3DS method right there.
Makes sense. We have the technology.
Maybe.
Well, do we?
Well, we've got
it's
even like
screen mirroring, right?
Yeah, well, there's screen mirroring and like Chromecast and stuff like that, but even then there's like pretty considerable like latency and delay behind that, Like if you're playing something from your phone to the TV like over Chromecast, like that can get pretty choppy unless you have like, gigabit fiber or whatever. So we'll see.
This is more like my just way future dreams.
Yeah.
Of things like if they're gonna eventually start playing around with the Switch, that seems like something to try.
Yeah. I want a dock that you could strap to your face and then turn your Switch into a VR headset. That's what I'm talking about.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Where does the Switch go in that?
Just right on the eyes ball.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Kyle, for sending that in. We'd love to get your question, listener. Shoot us an email or a message. And
apologies to anyone who is actually technically minded and is offended by us pretending like we know what we're talking about.
Let us know. Yeah.
Just grab it and slap it.
That's all you got to do. And then we will now talk about what games we've been playing recently. As David, you so correctly pointed out, I always go first. So I will continue to go first. I beat the second Phoenix Wright game, Justice for All.
Nice.
And I was talking to a coworker, friend of mine, Kyle Jones, who, quick aside, everybody that's in the Facebook group, Kyle Jones is always joking and is a troll. I feel like he stirs up a lot of people on our Facebook group who like take what he says. Yeah, I guess he's making serious comments, but you got to be ready that anything he says is bullshit. So,
wow, you're just calling out Kyle, right?
Yeah,
wow.
I'm calling you out, Kyle. He listens to the show. He won't be offended. I know him. But it is funny to see
he's gonna blow spitballs at you whenever you guys have to go back to the office.
I see people like responding to his clearly trollish posts on Facebook, and I cringe. So anyway, Kyle and I were talking. He had said he had just beaten Golf Story, and he said, I was thinking about playing Undertale next. And I said, ooh, I bought Undertale on sale. Let's play it, simultaneously and kind of have a little book clubby type thing about it. And I've put about 2 or so hours into it. He called me today and said, have you been playing? And I said, yes. He said, I quit. I don't like it. He said, I played about 2 hours and I wasn't into it. And somebody else on one of our forums somewhere said the same thing too, right? Do y'all remember that? Not too long ago?
I think so.
And I'm going to stick with it, but I understand. I think this game gets a lot of hype and it's probably deservedly so, but it's not like the gameplay is amazing. I think it's maybe the story or maybe if you played it without everybody telling you it's the best. It's like that experience where you go see a movie that everybody's told you is amazing and then you're like, it's all right.
Totally. Yeah. Because imagine if you'd never heard of this game ever in your life and you picked up this game randomly on the eShop and you played it, you would probably be like so beside yourself with like glee and charmed by it, right? Like, it's a pretty interesting and unique game. But it's like when you hear everybody say it's like the second coming of Christ, you're like, oh, okay, but it's not that good.
I think you expect the gameplay to maybe be more interesting,
right?
Or something, because I don't know. It's this. I'm finding it. I think this is the point, but it's easier to fight monsters than to not fight them. To like take the peaceful route. So, but it's kind of tedious to take the peaceful route almost, like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna finish it because I'm not hating it as much as Kyle, but been playing
then
that.
you gotta hit him up and just be like, well, this is what happens in the game.
I don't think he'll care if you haven't seen his Facebook posts. But yeah, that's what I've been mostly playing.
Cool. I'll go next. I've been playing mostly just a fuck ton of Picross. I completed Picross S4 for the most part because I still hadn't beaten that game by the time I got Picross S5.
You do beat games; they're just Picross.
They're just Picross games, yeah. Yeah, they're all the same game. It's just Picross. But yeah, I beat that. I beat all the clip Picross things in Picross S4. And then I've just been on this big kick. Like I discovered the Picross subreddit, and so I've just like found my people and my tribe, and just everybody just like gushing on Picross constantly. And then I bought like an actual book of like actual Picross that you do with like a pen or a pencil. So I've been doing that. I'm cool, guys. Believe me.
I like how you go from digital Picross to analog Picross.
Well, no,
I'm making my own puzzles.
Yeah, well, no, not yet, but I'm sure I will at some point. But I mean, I just felt like, whenever we had the blackout here in Texas, I was playing some like manual book Sudoku, and I was like, oh, I bet like Picross would be fun and kind of calming to like play it on with a pen and paper. So I'm gonna try that out. I've got nothing going on in my life. Anyway,
sounds amazing.
And then I guess next, just keeping on the Switch, I did download and play a few rounds of Apex Legends on Switch, the Panic Button port, at least the port that Panic Button helped out with. I don't know if they ported the whole game. Man, and the Switch port of Apex Legends is doo-doo, dog shit, terrible, ugly, disgusting, bad time game.
They need the Switch Pro. They need the Switch Pro stat.
Yeah, or just don't play it on the Switch. It's just like at all. They tried. You can tell they tried. And it's like, Doom and Doom Eternal are smaller areas, and more, easy to, it's not easy, but it's easier to get everything you need on the screen to like actually put the time into every single element. Apex Legends is a big, open, expansive, open world arena, right? So I understand that it's quite a bit more difficult, but I think I was watching NVC, the IGN Nintendo podcast, and they were saying like, oh, the game looks terrible, but it runs really smooth. And that's a lie. If you watch that podcast, do not listen to that. Because I was getting like 10 frames per second when I was getting into like the main action. And it'll drop down to like 360p when you're playing in handheld mode. And then even people will be like, handheld looks terrible, but it looks good on the TV. And that's also a lie. It like basically hurt me to look at it and play it. And so much so that I just like immediately downloaded it on Xbox because I had fun, but I just like couldn't, it like hurt my eyes and gave me a headache to play the game. So unless they do some major patches to it, and if you have any other way to play this game, avoid it on the Switch. Now, if the only console you have is a Switch and you really want to play this game, I'm sorry if I just made you feel bad if you enjoy this. But it was like unacceptable for me, unfortunately. And which is a real shame too, because Panic Button does some really good ports, and they did the Warframe port, which was really, really impressive on the Switch. So I hope that they can get this working in a proper way and it doesn't just require a Switch Pro to actually be playable. But I did enjoy it though, Matt. I finally played Apex and I had a good time. So I'll play it more on the Xbox. And then speaking of Xbox, lastly, I did start up Prey from the games that Bethesda dropped on Game Pass, developed right here in Austin, Texas from Arcane Studios. I'm not super far into it, but already that game has some really cool storytelling, and I'm already really into the world that they've created. It's kind of like this fucked up space station sort of situation. And I'm really enjoying that game so far as well. So hopefully I'll have a little bit more to say about that game next week. But those are the games that I've been playing. Matt?
Yeah, for me, Fire Emblem Three Houses. I tore through it really quickly.
No kidding.
And
that
like 3 or 4
so
days.
quick.
Was it last week that you told us you were playing it?
Yeah.
And you had just started it too.
I just started it. Yeah.
Did you do anything else this weekend?
Yeah. Was that a 7-day beat or what?
Yeah, I think so. I think I started it last Sunday, so it was about a week.
And then Emma's question: Did you eat and
Did you
shower?
do
I
anything
eat?
else?
Yes, I can confirm. I ate, I showered, and I pooped.
Nice.
Do you have tea?
I did not have tea. I had coffee.
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
but I did
With
have
any
tea
of the
time.
characters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did have tea time. Yeah. I tried to seduce everyone that I could.
I mean, you're playing it right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like everyone jokes of how horny that game is, but that game's super horny, and I was not
Oh,
prepared
yeah.
for how horny that was.
Dorothea is super horny.
I mean,
Oh,
all
totally.
of them.
She
Yeah.
just wants to get
Basically, all
married.
of them.
Yeah.
You can romance any character.
Yeah.
Should
So-
you? Who knows?
I
Should
think so.
you?
Yeah. I think
Probably
you should.
not any of them when they're your students, right? That's
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
You're like
feels
the
weird.
same age as them.
yeah, it's fine. I think
So would you say it's an all-time classic now that you've beaten it?
I really, really enjoyed Fire Emblem Three Houses. I thought it was.
Answer the question.
Yeah. Is it an all-time classic, like part of Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics?
No, like the
Like
question
from
we
the-
had from last week with
Is it one of the
Papagino's.
top 3 Switch
Mm.
games?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It's hard. This is my first Fire Emblem game, which is much different from like talking about like Mario Kart or like Luigi's Mansion. It's just like a completely different flavor of game. And I don't
Totally.
have the same connection to Fire Emblem that Emma, that you might, or other people in the Switches community have. So I'm coming
What?
into, go ahead,
What difficulty did you play it on?
whatever the normal classic.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So you had permadeath.
There
turned
are
on?
2 harder.
Okay.
How did you-
Yeah. I don't want to do that one.
How did you feel about the RPG, like the battle elements?
Loved. I wanted more battle, less instructing and less answering questions.
Yeah, you would probably like the older games then, because the classic tactics thing is the Fire Emblem formula. The new one, so Three Houses had a lot more of that social dialogue aspect. Some of the older
Persona
games are much more
stuff.
just like chapter after chapter of tactics.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've only got like 2 weeks left to buy the original Fire Emblem on the eShop. If you want that distilled action gameplay.
I need it. I want it. I'm gonna
You can
get
also
it.
just play my copy if you want, Matt.
Okay, I will. I think, yeah. I mean, overall, I wasn't quite prepared. Everyone said it's like a really accessible Fire Emblem game, but it's a really easy game to get started and to continue going for 1 week to beat
Sucks you in.
It was super enjoyable, and I haven't played a tactics game since Final Fantasy Tactics on PlayStation 1, so that formula and battle system was. It's just been so long, but ended up really enjoying all the Magic class users. Linhardt, Dorothea were and who's the dude that follows
Hubert.
Hubert? That's the name, the emo guy. Hubert, where I used Magic class almost entirely.
Yeah, I mean, for all his faults, he is very good at magic.
Yeah. I did get, I said this in the Discord, I did end up getting lost in some of the menus and some of the mechanics. I don't know what Charm does. And I wasn't patient enough to go look up what Charm does.
You make your dancer, and that's about it.
That's it?
There are probably other uses, but yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
No, I think it's mostly for the dancer.
I had high charm, but I didn't know how to utilize it.
Right.
From all the tea time. But if you're curious, I did marry Marianne.
That's a very important detail. Thank you.
Yeah.
We are
I'm very happy you played this game.
Yeah, I am too. It's just this conversation is making me realize how different of people we truly are, Matt. It's like Crosscode was like my favorite game of last year, and I still haven't beaten that game. And you like put off playing this game for so long and then beat it in 1 week. And this is a long game,
like,
dude.
I mean,
is.
like, I want to hear how many hours it says after 11,
Yeah.
after in 4 more days. What did you think you did? Like 40, 50?
Like a percentage
Or like 40, 50 hours to beat it in a week?
I have no
60?
idea. I would have to look.
If you're playing 10 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Yeah.
that's about 70 hours.
Yeah, depending on how long you spent, a typical run through is probably 70, 80 hours.
Oh my God, I don't even want to think about that.
Well, Matt will come back next week with the math.
I'll come. Yeah, it'll be pretty good.
He'll crunch the
Amazing.
numbers.
No, honestly, earnestly, it was a great game, and I totally see the appeal of Fire Emblem. And
Thank you for justifying our bullying.
yeah, bullying works. Again, I'll say.
You heard it
works.
here.
Once again, a shout out to Effie spoilers.
Yeah. Emma. What have you played?
Emma, what have you been playing?
So a little bit of Smash to play with Pyramithra, but then mostly Bravely Default 2.
Yes. Talk to us.
I think I spent my week similar to how you did, Matt, but playing Bravely Default 2.
Did you beat it in a week?
I haven't beaten it, but I'm like right at that end game. I'm just like getting the final weapons and perfecting things, because once I beat it, I want to do all that extra stuff beforehand in case I'm just like, okay, bookend.
I haven't been trying to read too many spoilers, but I've been following y'all's discussion in the Discord a little bit, and you're like waiting for everybody else to catch up to where you are. I've noticed.
I'm trying to be careful, and like I want people to experience it, but oh my gosh, I need someone to talk to about it.
Man, Emma, also good call on like requesting that we make a JRPGs channel instead of just the FE spoilers channel. I was like, oh, surely it's all the same people. They'll just talk. And then whenever I go to the Discord, those two channels are the ones that always have tons of discussion
and that
about.
way we can have two separate streams of conversation.
Right.
One is more like, oh, did you see this one very specific thing in the game and this plot point, and here's some tips. And our other one is just like, lol.
Yeah. That's fun.
Nice.
But it's good. There's a couple people playing Bravely Default 2 that have been super on top of just being like, ooh, this is cool at this point, and people coming in later too. It's neat to be able to see where people are and be like, oh yeah, actually, I found out that this works.
Nice. So ultimately, you're having a really good time with the game.
It's a great game. It's what I expected of all of the tropes of JRPG. It's not like super innovative, but at the same time, a good twist on old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just what I want out of being able to grind combat over and over and over and over and over with cool weapons.
Are you looking forward to Triangle Strategy?
Yeah, I played the demo and I didn't love it, but maybe I just need to get more into it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a little bit more of a jumping off point. Even in the demo, they said that this is from the middle chapters.
Right.
You don't really understand what's going on. I don't know. I want to see it from the beginning. And I think there's some certain things they can tweak. But it seems like a hard tactics game, just from the little bit I played. It's not going to baby you, but maybe that's because they threw you into chapter 6.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, but I'm excited. I'll definitely try it out.
Nice.
Well, I think that does it for this week's episode. Thank you, Emma. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Absolutely.
Thanks to milkyway.co, who does our website. Thanks to Corduroy, who does our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX.
Hey, I'm Matthew on Twitter, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Emma? Where can people find you online?
I'm Emma Brockway on Facebook, just Emma on our Discord, and I think just Emma Brockway on Instagram.
Very good. There you go.
Unless someone steals my name, I'm going to be using it.
Right. Unless we all have stolen identities, that's where you can find us.
Yeah.
Other than that, folks, if you want to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter. We are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. Make sure you follow all of those. And then also, this is something that I was going to say earlier in the show, and maybe I'll say it earlier in the show next week. But we've got a little thing we're trying to do. Basically, if we can get to 250 subscribers on our YouTube, I personally will create audiobook versions of the fan fiction Zelda books that I wrote when I was in intermediate school. So that's 5th and 6th grade. David wrote pretty robust prequels to both Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And so if you're interested in reading those, or if you're interested in listening to those as special episodes, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you tell your friends to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got to get to 250 subscribers. This is going to be huge, okay? And not only will I do audiobook versions, I'll do all the voices for all the characters, and I'll add in sound effects for ambience in the background.
Okay, we have to reach this because we need this.
Yeah, these will be full featured produced audiobooks of these
Do you have art, David?
I do. What the first book, Zelda Generations, is fully illustrated by me. It's starting to wear off a little bit. I did it in colored pencil, but I'll make digitized versions and have that in the video if I do them. The second book, Zelda Pathways to the Future, does not have illustrations. I was too old for that.
More grown up.
Sixth grade. Yeah.
You mean, David? You mean to tell us, the Super Switch Headz community, that the editor for Castlevania has Legend of Zelda fanfic that he's willing to create a version? With the same quality as Castlevania.
Nintendo, if you're listening, give us a Zelda anime. I've already got the stories. This is what I'm saying. We don't even need to do anything else. And we'll cast Tom Holland. Anyway, that's beside the point. In addition to that, so subscribe to our YouTube is what I'm saying. And then other than that, you can find our website at switchheadz.com. And as always, make sure you join our Facebook group and make sure you join our Discord. Fantastic communities that we've built up over the years, and we'd love to have you be a part of that, listener. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you one more time for listening to this episode on Zelda's 35th anniversary speculation and wants and desires. And Emma, you did a great job on the show. It's so great to have you on. Other than that, folks, we'll have you on again for sure. We've got a great show for you guys lined up next week, so make sure you stay tuned. But other than that, remember to wash your hands, remember to wear a mask, try to get vaccinated. They're rolling them out May 1st. All adults can do it, right? That's what Biden said. Let's hold his ass to the fire, and let's get those vaccines, because I want to go to bars and play my Switch again.
Yeah, maybe next time I'm on, it could be in person.
Yeah, we'll see. Although, I don't know. I'm kind of digging the virtual podcast format. We'll see what happens.
Pretty good.
Other than that, folks, we love you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.